Hello and welcome to 35 Minute Movies, a Vin Diesel podcast. This is the podcast where we are going through Vin Diesel's career. We're talking about his films, we're ranking and reviewing every single one of them up until the most recent one. I'm Cameron, and as always, I'm joined by Vin Diesel's number one fan. Well, you said we shared that last time, but hey, I'm pretty sure you're a bigger fan than me at this point. Awais, how is it going?
It's going good, man. I'm excited to talk about today's movies. We've got a couple of good, interesting movies to talk about. One very important one for the two of us, actually.
Yeah, so this week we're talking about The Pacifier and Find Me Guilty. One of them being kind of the origin for this podcast, in that Find Me Guilty was the kind of catalyst for this. With we saw a picture of Vin Diesel in this, and he has hair, and this is like the only Vin Diesel project I think I've ever seen in my entire life where Vin Diesel has hair. So it's what are you gonna do? But yeah, two very different, vastly different films released a year apart.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into them now. We'll jump into the first one. Let's go. So we're going to talk first about The Pacifier, which is directed by Adam Shankman, who did stuff like Hairspray, the musical adaptation for Hairspray and stuff like that. That came out in 2005. Very different role for Vin. This is a family comedy. Could you recap the plot for me?
Yeah, so basically, Vin Diesel plays Shane Wolf, and he's a SEAL agent. And basically, what happens is he has this sort of botched rescue mission at the start of the film, and it causes someone to die. And so he's reassigned to basically protect his family, because this person that ended up dying on his watch has basically created this sort of algorithm, this sort of, really powerful sort of thing, this bit of technology that people are after. And so he has to protect the family. It's called The Ghost, and he's basically protecting the family from people that are trying to steal the ghost while trying to sort of source it himself, because no one knows where it is, and he needs to find it and obviously take it back to the US government. But most of the movie is basically him babysitting these kids and sort of learning to bond with the sort of plumber kids. What did you think of it, Cameron?
I thought it was really nice. I thought it's been a while since I've watched it. I remember I did watch this a long time ago with my family when I was little, but I've not seen it since. I've seen it like once, and I was surprised at how well it held up. I didn't expect it to hold up as much as it did. I thought it was quite touching in moments. Some of the comedy was really it was slapstick child humor, but hey, what are you gonna do? It was it's a different role for Vin. We've not seen him in this kind of thing before, and it's a different role for him. And I thought it was really interesting to see him kind of. He doesn't really do a lot of comedies, so this is kind of maybe his only comedy. I think I couldn't really see any other.
I think so, yeah.
So that was interesting to see him kind of do his comedic chops, to see how they stretched. What about you? What were you thinking?
I have always had a bit of a soft spot for this movie. Because this was my introduction to Vin Diesel many years ago, when I was 7 years old. I remember going to see this in cinemas, and it is that sort of very silly, very slapstick sort of family film. It sort of lives in the same canon of like The Tooth Fairy, The Spy Next Door, The Game Plan, that kind of sort of.
Definitely.
Action star, kindergarten cop type, action star takes on this very subversive role where they have to learn to sort of be like a parent figure. It's very, very funny. I found myself cracking up a lot because I didn't know what to expect, just like you, because I've not revisited it in years, but it really holds up very well. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Very entertaining. Very entertaining.
You were talking earlier before we went in. We looked at some of the the fun facts, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even Vin that was supposed to be in this role. This was, you were talking about action stars. It's a long lineage of these kind of films, and this wasn't even Vin wasn't even the guy they wanted for the role originally. Could you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so originally the script was written for Jackie Chan. And so the ninjas, there are two ninjas in the film. They're sort of like the bad guys. They're from his stunt team, actually, funnily enough. Because he was originally sort of attached to the film. For one reason or another, he dropped out. And then they wanted Dwayne Johnson. Johnson, I don't know why I said it like that. They wanted they wanted Dwayne Johnson for this. For some reason, that obviously didn't work out. And then they wanted Bruce Willis for the role. That didn't work out either, and so they ended up with Vin. I think he's sort of weirdly perfect for this role.
Yeah, no, I would agree. He is strangely the best choice out of a lot of them. I couldn't imagine Bruce Willis doing a film like this. Obviously, Jackie Chan went on to go and do The Spy Next Door, which is a similar premise, and he went on, and then Dwayne Johnson hasn't done anything like this, bar The Game Plan, which is a slightly different premise, but this is like the kind of like
Tooth Fairy, sort of similar genre, but sort of different, sort of stories.
Yeah, it's so strange because I had no expectations for it whatsoever, and it did kind of exceed them in a way. So that's pretty good. I thought, So I don't know about you, but I hold this film as a film as a high regard as a good family comedy. Some of the plot doesn't make sense in some ways, like it's just completely stupid, but in a way that works. It knows it's stupid, I think, as well. Like that's it knows it's a family comedy. It's not trying to take itself too seriously. What about the kind of family dynamic that we never really see Vin be this sort of father figure in a way, because he's helping these kids with the Sound of Music musical. He's helping them with
Driver's Ed.
Driver's Ed,
Scouts,
just literally everything under the sun.
It's great. I love seeing this side of him, and I'm so curious because if you look at sort of what came before, it was The Chronicles of Riddick and A Man Apart, which are both violent and sort of dark, and this is a complete 360 from any of those, and it's not even like this. We've talked about films that were sort of shelved for a while to wait for sort of Vin's stardom. This wasn't. It seems like he clearly picked this up after doing all these sort of action franchises. And I'm so curious as to why, because it's so different. And it looks like he's just having so much fun. My favorite scene in the film is there's this teacher played by Brad Garrett, who's this very sort of cocky, he's a wrestling coach and he thinks he's great, and he's always like sort of ushering Vin to sort of get in the ring with him, and then you finally see them wrestle, and it's such an amusing scene, and I sort of wish that Vin Diesel's comedic timing, by the way, is perfect. Like he's so funny. It kind of makes me want to see more comedic roles from him.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's not gone into more comedy, because there's more. We'll talk about it more because there is an element of comedy in the next film as well, but nothing to this extent. Nothing in this kind of genre. It's a different kind of genre of comedy, but it's similar in a way. I don't know why he's not taking more on. I think it's more because he, as we said before, must have been before he sort of realised he was action star material, I guess, because Triple X is sort of the turning point, and I guess when he comes back to Fast and Furious, which is in a few weeks' time, he kind of just sort of leans into it further and just becomes this all-out action star that we know him for. Yeah.
No, I agree. It's definitely a strange sort of casting, and yeah, he is funny in Find Me Guilty as well, and he's so good at it that it sort of makes me sad that we're not seeing more of that, to sort of the extent that he is clearly capable of.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to move on to scores? I've got it's a very baseline sort of surface level film. There's not a lot to sort of overanalyze at all. But bar the fact the cast is really, really good. It's great chemistry between the cast. I actually I do I want to mention another bit with the child, and you mentioned one of the children. You mentioned it in the just before we started as well. Was
Oh yeah, okay.
the small kid? There was an awkward interaction on set. I think you know what I'm on about is. What was that? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so there's a scene in the film where the little girl Lulu, basically, she tells Shane that she thinks he's cute, and he's all embarrassed, and he gives a very sort of awkward response. That was actually based on a real life incident on set. So Morgan York, who's the actress that plays Lulu, upon meeting Vin Diesel, she said that to him, that she thought he was cute, and he awkwardly responded with "thank you," and just in this sort of very sort of embarrassing way. And the director thought it was so funny that he put that interaction into the film, and sort of what you see in the movie is based on a real set interaction, which is just great.
Oh man, that's brilliant. So should we move on to the scoring then? So I'd love like a quick, concise overall what you thought and a score, because that would be the overall film. What you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're right. It's not really a film that you can overanalyze. It is just very fun, and it's very, very sort of good at what it does. It knows what it wants to be, and it is that. And yeah, I mean, you can really just sort of have fun with it. I would give it a 3 out of 5. It's such a breezy, enjoyable, and just nice family film. And even now, sort of 16 years after it came out.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with you on that one as well. I think The Pacifier is one of those films that it's a really solid family film. You know, I mean, you can't really go wrong with it. So yeah, I would have to say 3 out of 5 as well for that. And there's some great moments.
What about as a Vin role?
As a Vin role, that's because it's not at all like what we're used to seeing him, and that's almost one of the best things about it. But there are small elements that I think are very Vin Diesel-y in the sort of defined definition of Vin Diesel that we gave at the beginning of this series. So I would go for a 2. I'd say maybe a 2 or a 3. I think I'll go solid on a 2. I think it is. There's some elements, but it's not quite his most Vin Diesel role, and it's a shame that I have to score it so low on the Vin Diesel rating, because it's going to bring it down, and I really don't want to have to bring it down, but it's just where it has to be, unfortunately.
I'm gonna go for a 3. Just because of the fact that it is a very different character, but he's a Navy SEAL. He is this sort of very masculine, very tough character, who doesn't sort of know how to sort of be anything other than that, and he has to learn how to sort of be a family, which is a recurring theme we'll sort of see in some of his later films. So it's not Vin to like the extents we see him at. I think it's a soft core, family friendly Vin, and so for that reason I'll give it a 3.
I can get behind that. That makes it not exactly. It's like sort of middle of the list. Unfortunately, it's not the bottom. So it's. I'm trying to do the mental math in my head. 2 plus 3 is 5, and 3 plus 3 is 6. So yeah, that's 11 out of 20, and it is. So that's middle of the list. It's between Iron Giant and it's between Boiler Room and Iron Giant. So so that's. There's not much you can say, because it's such a departure from everything else he's ever done before. So that's why it's just in this weird position where it's like overall it's a really solid movie, but in terms of that, it's quite far down. So, yeah.
Is it above Iron Giant?
Yes, above Iron Giant.
That's great.
Well, because we both give Iron Giant 1, because all he does is sort of mumble his way through it, despite it being such a great performance. He does just sort of like just not speak in full sentences, so you can't really call it a Vin Diesel film. Let's talk about Find Me Guilty, which is the 2006 film from Sidney Lumet. He is a director of things like 12 Angry Men, Dog Days Afternoon. This is not something you'd expect to see on Vin Diesel's list of filmography list at all. It's based on a true story. Could you tell me about the plot for this?
Yeah, so it's basically based on the longest mafia trial in American history, which went on for about 626 days, something like that. So Vin Diesel stars as a mobster, Jackie D'Onofrio, who faces a series of charges, even though he's got this 30-year prison sentence. But he decides to. Basically, he's offered the choice of ratting on people, or sort of standing trial. And sort of you'll see his recurring sort of motif throughout the film is that he isn't a snitch, and so he decides to go to trial, but he doesn't like his lawyer. His lawyer's trying to exploit him out of money, so he ends up infamously defending himself in this trial, and it's based on a true story. And this whole film is just, everything about it is so fascinating, because this is a film we keep describing as Vin Diesel with hair, and it's just so weird.
That is basically the only way you can describe it, really, is just Vin Diesel with hair. It's the history behind us in this film. I'm so glad we finally got to watch it, because we've talked about it for so long, and we've never got around to it. It was it was over 6 months ago now, where we did the episode, and it still gets views because people do just type in Vin Diesel with hair to see the stuff that comes up. So we get clicks off of that in general, which I think is quite funny. But yeah, this is the film where Vin Diesel has a full head of hair and sort of goes all in on this role. This is his most dramatic role. I think this is his most the most acting Vin Diesel's ever done. Not to say he doesn't act, but just to say that the most performance-y acting that I think he's ever done. I was watching some of the extras on the Blu-ray, and he was talking about how he put on 30 pounds for this role.
Yeah.
And Jackie, I can't even say his name. Jackie
D'Onofrio, yeah.
Jackie D'Onofrio was about 50 when the events of the film was happening, and so he had to put old age makeup on. So he spent 2 hours in the makeup chair, getting all done up and stuff before he went in. So this is the most acting that Vin Diesel's probably ever done. As a film, though, I thought it was pretty crap. Like, Vin Diesel, way up here. He's the best part of this film, no matter, like, just genuinely. I'm not even saying this because there's a Vin Diesel podcast. He is genuinely one of the best parts of this movie, hands down. I take issue with the script and some of just completely. I know they ripped some of the dialogue. You were saying before, that was one of the things that they ripped some of the dialogue directly from the court transcripts and stuff, and to make it more authentic. And I get that, but it was just so dull. Especially, I take issue mainly with the way it was shot, in that it feels like a TV movie, just in the way it's lit, in the way the sets look, and just it lacks energy. And I feel like you needed something to kind of spice it up. And I guess it's Sydney's kind of old school style of filmmaking, I guess, is the fact it is so stuck in the early days of courtroom dramas and stuff like that, that it's not quite where I maybe it's my sort of pre-existing just sort of like issues that I guess with old school films. Not I've got anything against, but it just seemed so dull in the way that it was shot and directed. I don't know how you thought about that.
No, I have to agree. It's disappointing because it is Sidney Lumet, who has made, iconic courtroom films. Like 12 Angry Men is the go-to sort of courtroom drama that people talk about. And the sort of story is so inherently fascinating about this sort of... Because basically the character of Jackie D'Onofrio, he is... You can never tell whether he's sort of good or bad, but he's got a moral compass, and he sticks to that, and he just wants to do right by these other sort of gangsters that he's known all his life, and he represents himself, and it is just such a fascinating story. And I think the fact that the direction is so flat is what lets it down, partly because there's so much to cover. Like, it is a 600 and however many day case, and there's obviously a lot of material in that, and the film's only like 2 hours 5 minutes. There's only so much you can cover in that time, and so it feels very choppy and very messy. But I will say Vin Diesel is genuinely terrific. Like, I was so surprised by sort of how good he was, because you've never seen this sort of performance from him, and he's so fantastic. And I was sort of saying to you before, Jackie D'Onofrio himself picked Vin Diesel to play him, because obviously he was a sort of consultant on the film. He died while it was being made, but he was the one. He saw the Fast and the Furious and picked Vin Diesel out to play him. And the casting is, it was just so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
I don't know where you make the connection there, though. You know what I mean? You're Jackie DiNocio thinking, oh, this is a great film where he is just like just hardcore action star. That's the guy I want. That's the guy I want to play me in this courtroom drama. I want this. Sydney, are you there? Hello, let's get this going. And it's just such an odd choice to me.
But somehow it still works out. Like, it's so bizarre that he was like, this is the movie, this is the actor, I want him to play me. But he clearly saw something in him, because the performance is terrific. Like, Jackie's a bit of a sort of larger than life, very sort of kooky, very buoyant character. Always smiling, always cracking jokes, and it's just, Vin is so good. And you know, it's partly probably the makeup and the sort of hair as well, but he really does like disappear into this role, I think.
Yeah, it's the fact he gained so much weight for this as well. He had a belly, he put on a full belly. Yeah. He said in the interviews on the desk that he was just chugging ice cream just constantly, and he was showing off his belly to folk. He felt, and he must have felt honored to be part of this film, because Sidney's 100%. Such an acclaimed director as well. He must have jumped to this, and he did seem to be very appreciative of it. It did seem to be like this was a massive honor for him, and fair enough. You know what I mean? It's just a shame that it's such a low, just a film that doesn't seem to have the energy, I guess. And do you know what I mean though? Where it seems so strangely lit in the fact that there was no sort of. It was just almost like all of it was overexposed. Like it just couldn't. I don't know. I don't know if that was just a blue.
It looks very beige, very bland.
Yeah, there's visually just dull as hell, and it doesn't do the film any favors. It's a 2 hours 6 minutes film. It's really quite meaty in the courtroom stuff. It is just sort of hardcore, that it doesn't kind of pull away. It just goes straight onto it, and I have to say that was the only thing that kind of let down for me. I was captivated by Vin though. I did have to say I thought that was a good role for him. Yeah, so it's just one of those things where who do you know, if you weren't to choose Vin Diesel, who do you think sort of seems like a good idea for this role? Because I couldn't think of anyone else other than Vin in this role, but I know they must have had some other ideas. They must have been.
Well, so Sydney originally courted Joe Pesci for the role.
Okay.
But again, I'm not even sure how that would work out. I can't see Joe Pesci in this kind of role.
The right age for that sort of.
I don't think so. No, because he would have been much. Well, because I think so, because what it says here is during filming, Vin Diesel was 30, while Jackie DiNocio was in his late 40s during the trial.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it was about maybe a 10-year gap. So I suppose maybe Pesci would have been a bit closer to the age in that sense. But I can't see him in this sort of, very kooky role.
I would like to speak a little bit just on the hair. Just to get your thoughts on the hair. Because
we have to.
We spent a lot of time building up, as I said, and I have to say, I wasn't disappointed. It was so strange to look at, and it takes you a while to get used to it. There's a scene in the very beginning, he's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt, and you sent me a snapshot of it. I was blown away. It's just so strange. I want to go and show you something though, because this is very odd, and I'll have to do a wee cut here, but I want to show you something. So this is the Blu-ray box, okay? Now,
I think I know what I'm expecting here.
What's interesting here? No, that's the thing. You're not expecting anything.
Okay.
This is the Blu-ray box here. Okay, I'm going to just get it further. They have made a conscious effort in every single photo of Vin Diesel. I don't know if you can see that really well.
Yeah.
To kind of hide the fact he has hair, going so far as to use a different photo that's not from the movie in the front image, and they've had to give. My camera's shit, so I won't focus. But they've had to give credit to where the photo came from in the back of the Blu-ray. So I don't think this is even from the movie, which is the best part.
Also, that's the funny thing. If you go onto, because the film's on Prime, which is where I watched it. That's a thumbnail for the Prime film as well.
Yeah.
Is that Blu-ray cover? So when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, so because it's him behind bars and he's bald, I was like, okay, so I take it we're gonna get like a prison scene, with bald Vin.
No.
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 Nope.
No.
Nope.
So there's some kind of scandal going on there where I think they were scared of Vin Diesel with hair, and I think this Blu-ray came out, and all these posters seem to have come out a bit after the release of 2006. Obviously, Blu-ray wasn't really around then, so this is from 2013. I think this man here had in his contract, maybe this is just a conspiracy theory, that he didn't want any of these kind of pictures getting kind of front and center.
Well, because now he does have these sort of weird contractual obligations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I wondered that when I sort of clicked on it on Prime yesterday, because that's the exact photo, that's the sort of Prime thumbnail for it, which is weird because it doesn't sell the movie at all. It's not. That makes me think like Brawl in Cell Block 99 hardcore prison
that's
drama.
That's the thing. It just seems to not sell the movie whatsoever, and I think that was done on purpose because the movie is so dull and it wouldn't get the Vin Diesel crowd in, so they've got to make it look like, oh, this is a guy in a hardcore prison, this is a guy and then you play the movie and it's like, hey, let's have a great time in a courtroom, guys, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, what the hell am I watching? This is not it. So
you know what surprises me is the fact that he hasn't had a chance. Or maybe he has, but he just hasn't taken the chance to sort of flex his acting chops in the same way. Like, it reminds me of Adam Sandler, in that everyone has this idea of Adam Sandler in their head, of the type of actor he is, the type of roles he do. Same with Vin Diesel. But then, in Adam Sandler's career, he has a couple of films, Punch Drunk Love, Uncut Gems, The Meyerowitz Stories, where he really gets a chance to, like, say, no, I am a good actor. Here is sort of proof. And this is that for Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
But we've only seen that once. There's no other sort of dramatic roles quite like this in his career, and I'm so curious as to why, because he is so good.
It's a mystery to me, and I wonder in a few years' time, maybe once Fast dies down, once sort of he's kind of past his prime as an action star, we might get a sort of renaissance in a way.
Yeah.
And that he might come back to dramatic roles, might try and do a pull in Adam Sandler where he does something we don't expect him to see him in whatsoever. He does something like a biopic for another biopic like this, or something like that, and it would be interesting to see. I would be very interested to see Vin do some more meaty roles like this, because he is great in this. It's just a shame the film, just a shame Sydney sort of did him dirty in terms of the actual quality of the movie. So what are we thinking for an overall score then?
Overall score, I'm gonna be kind to it. Probably a bit more than you, I imagine. Because I did sort of enjoy aspects of it. I think Vin carries it really well.
Okay.
And I'm always fascinated by sort of courtroom dramas. I think it is bland, it is a bit long, it is a bit dull, but there are some great scenes and just the sort of whole story behind the film, and the fact that so much of the dialogue is from real sort of court transcripts is so fascinating to me. So I did sort of enjoy watching it enough. So I would give it a 3 out of 5, I think. What about you?
All right, that's pretty fair. I would go for a 2. I wouldn't go for a 1. I wouldn't go. It wasn't actively upsetting to me. It just really upset me. It just sort of like really disappointed me. So I would go for a 2. And I've already kind of made my points clear. It just was so dull to me, and it could have been more energetic in the way it was shot. It's more technical reasons than anything else. Vin was great though, a great performance from him.
Which is now what we come to.
Yeah, the
as
Vin
Vin
Diesel rating is such a difficult thing to give it, because I've not got a clue, and I don't know. I'm going to let you go first, because I don't know where I would sit this.
It's a shame, because I do firmly believe this is his best performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not seen all of his later movies. I've seen a fair chunk of them, but I just feel like we're not gonna see this sort of versatility as an actor from him. But it's not a very Vin role. In a good sense, but bear in mind sort of the aspect of the podcast is Vin Dieselness, and this is you forget you're watching Vin Diesel to an extent, and for that I would see. I was thinking two, but then I feel like I have to go one just because of the fact that I forgot I was watching Vin Diesel, which is a testament to how good he is, but
Yeah.
not what we're sort of looking at here.
Definitely.
So
I would.
for that reason, one.
You've sort of convinced me there. I think one. I think it is a very. It's not anything we see him in the nicest possible way. I think this is the best. The best result this film could have got is the fact that we gave Vin Diesel a one, because he just
Yeah.
isn't him.
'Cause he's a
It's
chameleon.
not him anymore,
Yeah.
and it's great. It's so good. So yeah, that's a one. So you
And
were
I
a
think
free.
for that, yeah,
Sorry,
and I
yeah.
think for that, I was just gonna say, I think for that reason, it's worth checking out just for
Yeah.
his performance. Like, if you like Vin Diesel as an actor, watch this movie.
Yeah, it's just genuine curiosity. Just I would imagine you'll find something, even if it's just to go, oh my god, Vin Diesel's got hair. But I think you'd come come for the hair, stay for the performance. In my opinion, I mean that's
Yeah.
where we're
100%. That's what we did.
exactly. So that gives it a 7, and that means we're gonna have to do
Is it
some
at the
fighting
bottom?
later on. It's well,
Oh, no.
that's the thing.
Oh, no.
So let's move out of this and move into the Vin Diesel ranking. So here we are again at the Vin Diesel ranking list. This is the big old list that we have where we're combining the scores together. Out of 20, we're seeing what the sort of overall Vin Diesel and overall quality sort of where they merge, and let's see what film comes out on top. It's such a weird list. It doesn't really mean anything in terms of anything like that, but it's just sort of cool to kind of put these together and see what we think. So we have two new entries on the list. Obviously, because that's how we have anyway at every week. So at number 1 still is Strays, number 2 Saving Private Ryan, number 3 The Fast and the Furious, number 4 Triple X, number 5 Riddick, number 6 The Boiler Room, number 7 was a new entry, is The Pacifier. That's 11 points. You're able to see these all on your screen as well if you're watching the video version. The Iron Giant is at number 8, Pitch Black at number 9, The Knocker on Guys at number 10, and A Man Apart at number 11. But we've got a new contender for the bottom spot, and I think this is going to be a very easy one for us to make a sort of decision on. We've got to decide which one takes the bottom spot, because both A Man Apart and Find Me Guilty have 7 out of 20. So I think it's pretty easy. Find Me Guilty moves up, and A Man Apart stays in the bottom spot. But
Yeah, I know, I agree.
yeah.
I agree.
It's very simple to me.
I agree. I think just for the fact that Vin is so good in Find Me Guilty, and A Man Apart is absolute ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's so close to the bottom doesn't even mean it's a bad film to watch, because Vin, like we said, Vin is great in it. But hey, what are you going to do? Next week, we're introduced to a film I've never heard of before. So, yeah.
Babylon AD.
Babylon AD, I've never heard of before, never seen it before, never seen it advertised anywhere. This will be interesting. And then also, we're starting the good stuff. We're getting to Fast and Furious, the proper Fast and
boy.
Furious. This is where the franchise really begins. You know, Fast and Furious 4 is where the franchise really takes off, in my opinion.
Do you know what's so interesting though? Is there was a 3-year gap, or like a 2-year gap anyway, because we're going straight from sort of, I suppose we're in the mid 2000s anyway. But I just remember when I think Fast and Furious, I think sort of 2009, sort of getting into the 2010s. So like we're there already, which is kind of crazy.
We're jumping. He takes 2 years off. He's not in anything. At the end of this year, he's in Tokyo Drift, uncredited. But we're not going to talk about that. Like we said, we might do a small, maybe offshoot podcast, because I feel like we'll be raring to talk about Too Fast, Too Furious and Tokyo Drift once we watch them.
Yeah.
But Babylon AD and Fast and Furious, so they're 2008 and 2009. So
The fast hype is rejuvenated after the new trailer for Fast 9. So I'm excited to, because I'm obviously going to watch, and I'm sure you are, going to watch Too Fast and Tokyo before we get into that.
And it'll be a couple weeks old now, but if you've not had a chance, there is a Fast 9 trailer reaction on the channel right now, that you can go and watch and see our little faces light up with joy for the entire reaction. It's a great watch, just to see us have a good time. So that's kind of the end of it. you've also we may be doing more because Wheelman and Escape from Athena. But by now we will have streamed on Twitch. I need to talk to you about that after this because this is a couple weeks old in recording, but I need to talk to you about that. And so yeah, make sure you check that out because we're going to be streaming the Wheelman and Dark Athena and stuff very soon. So that'll be very interesting. So that's twitch.tv/CamzoOg. I've been Cameron. You can find me on Twitter at CamzoOg and ohifilms.com, and the other podcast I do, Four Eyes and the Giant, with Jordy Steele. That's a great fun time. He's a great fun guy. Like I told you, you're both great fun guys. Both equally great podcast co-hosts. It's great fun times.
It's a good podcast, yeah.
It's fun times. So, who are you? What are you doing? Why are you here?
I don't know who I am. I am having a mind blank. I'm a Oasis fan. You can find me on Twitter at OasisOasis, and at thefilmbite.com, where we are starting to review all the Fast and Furious films ahead of Fast 9.
Wow, you're going to be competing. We're going to have to get these out quicker then. I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to have to start fucking shooting these out so I can beat you to the punch. No, fair enough. That's interesting. Is it just you doing that, or is James and all the other lot doing that as well?
No. That's a passion project for just me, man.
I see. That's great. Yeah, July can't come soon enough. So we shall see you in the next episode where we're going to talk about Babylon AD and Fast and Furious, not Fast and the Furious, Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious.
So we'll see you then. See you later.